Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Minh and I'm your co-host with Jessica from our office at NDIS Property Australia, and you listen to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Jessica, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Minh. I'm a little bit less confused after our conversation just now, trying to get my head around the topic.
Jess has got a week or 2 weeks off with kids' holidays coming up next 2 weeks. So I thought I'd squeeze her in today for a quick little 15 to 17 minute podcast on one particular topic, which we have never covered. Well, we didn't cover the last 4 episodes on the SDA Price Guide. And the topic is what again, Jess? What's the topic?
So it's claiming payment for SDA. It's referred to, or what we're referring to it as, the lesser of rule, which is in the NDIS pricing arrangements for SDA accommodation.
Now, I just want to explain what this all means and the reason why we're covering it as a topic, because the last 3 or 4 episodes on the SDA Price Guide change, impending change, we mentioned the words, 2 ILs, 3-bedroom house, fire sprinkler, double, triple the return. Now, we want to cover the topic of the lower of clause to ensure that our listeners understand that there is some other grey areas here with regards to the SDA income. And I just want to use an example here, just round numbers, an example, so you understand that what is applicable here. Jess, do you want to explain the different combinations here that we're looking at?
Yeah, so the combinations that we'll be discussing today is just with consideration for IL. So we're looking at ILs specifically in a 3-bed house, which will give us a combination, three separate combinations actually, just in the potential of having IL tenants come into your property. Now,
hold that thought there. We're looking at a 3-bedroom house for 2 tenants. Okay, cool. However, out there in the marketplace, the funding for IL could be applied to a 2-bedroom apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom villa, a 1-bedroom villa, a 3-bedroom IL house, which is 2 participants, and a 4-bedroom IL house, which is 3 participants. So 1 to 3, 1 to 2. So when we say 1 to 3, 1 to 2, 1 to 1, it's the OOA plus 3, OOA plus 2, OOA plus 1. Okay? So for the purpose of this little exercise here today, we're not talking about apartments at all, okay? Because it's the lower of, okay? The lower of. They're the key words here. So Jess, do you want to read some the actual text from the old price guide?
Yeah, so it comes in at Section 13 of the NDIS pricing arrangements. These were the ones released in March 2023, which are still technically in effect. So particularly at Section 13, when claiming payment for SDA from an individual participant's plan, a provider is only able to claim the lesser of 1, the maximum per participant price for which the dwelling is enrolled, and 2, the other option, the amount of SDA funding for which a participant has been assessed. So the amount of SDA in their plan. So it's got to be the lower of those 2.
Is that clear as black and white or as clear as mud? Yes. This is for our listeners here. And I know what we're talking about, but is that clear enough for our listeners or not?
So, for example, helpfully from the pricing arrangements guide, if a participant has been found eligible to receive $90,000 per annum in SDA funding, but the dwelling has been enrolled with a maximum per participant price of $30,000, the maximum payment that you could claim from that participant would be $30,000.
Okay.
That's unless Appendix G applies, but I think we can deal with that in a separate.
So, I mean, again, those numbers that Jess is quoting are from the old SDA price numbers there. So let's just use an example here, Jess, on our whiteboard that you and I are looking at here. Let's say we have a $750,000 house and land package somewhere in Australia, and it's a 3-bed, 3-bath, 2-car specifications. So it's an OOA plus we're calling this an IL house, okay? IL house, right? Two participant IL, 2 participant funded IL participants in the house. Okay, cool. Carer plus 2. So there'll be a number of applications coming to the table of the SDA provider. They will receive a 1 to 2 application, which is a person who can share with another person, 1 to 2 there. They may receive a applicant who is IL funded to share in a 4-bedroom house for 3 participants, so 1 to 3. They may receive a villa IL funded person who is 1 to 1, which doesn't really apply here because he has to live by himself in that scenario there, so not applicable. And then we have a IL villa for 1 to 2 participants sharing as well. Let's say the 1 to 2 participant is 77 grand a year. The 1 to 3 share house is 56,000 a year, meaning if it was a 4-bedroom house and there were 3 bedrooms for participants, it'll be 56,000 plus 56,000 plus 56,000, okay? And the last scenario is the IL villa, which is 1 to 2 at 43,000 each, okay? And just pull me over if I'm getting confusing here, Jess. Mm-hmm. So in theory, we have a brand new house, 3-bedroom house, and the investor wants the maximum return as possible.
Yeah.
And the maximum in this scenario is 77,000 plus 77,000 equals 154,000 divided by 750,000, which equals 20%. Okay?
Yeah.
Jess, what is scenario 2?
So scenario 2 would be where you have an IL participant with the IL 3-bed house funding, so 1 to 2.
Yeah.
That's your 77 grand. And an IL participant with 4-bed funding, so 1 to 3. So that's 56 grand, bringing you to a total of 133 gross income. So on your 750K investment, you're looking at 17% from that combination.
Yep. 133 divided by 750 equals 17% gross yield before costs. Great. And the third scenario, Jess?
So third scenario again is we're dealing with a participant who's IL with 1 to 2 funding, so another 77 grand. And then the other participant that comes along has IL villa funding for 1 to 2, which is only 43 grand. Well, that gives you a total of 120K in gross income over the 750K investment is 16%. So even though the IL property you may have enrolled to have 2 or 3 resident funding, because the participant who's come to you has IL funding for a villa in a 1 to 2 scenario, you have to take the 43K that comes with that participant. You can't charge the SDA enrolled amount of your property for that tenant because of this lower of rule.
The lower of rule. There's a fourth option here, which is the IL 1 to 3 share house participant and the IL 1 to 2 villa share.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. So this will be 56,000 for the 3 ILs in the house coming over to this 2-tenant house, plus 43,000 for a villa guy. 56 plus 43 is 99. 99,000 divided by 750, example, is 13% for this 4th IL combination in this IL house. Gross yield, by the way. And remember, net yields are normally 3 to 4% off the gross yield. So if this is 13% gross yield on the lowest level too, by the way, actually there's another one too, by the way. Sorry. It'll be
yeah, we can elaborate.
Yeah.
In a spreadsheet.
By the way, everyone, the 5th one here, Jess, is 2 of the villa guys.
Yes, correct.
So 2 villa guys at 43 each coming to this house.
Yeah.
They'll apply.
So you've got 86K coming in.
Which is just slightly below 99, so it's almost comparable to. So really, in this scenario, there's 5 combos here of the IL house. So that will be 13% for the 4th one. And the last one is, write this down, so 86 divided by 750 is 11.4. So 13%, 11.4%.
So it just depends on, I guess, the type of tenants, participants that you get applying and their funding.
Yeah. So remember, it is up to the landlord, the owner of the property, to decide which ones they're going to accept. Now, that's good in theory, Jess. basing tenancy applications based on numbers.
Yeah.
But we know that when you mix different people, different personalities into a house, it may not click. So in theory, it's good to think, oh, I'll go for the 77 plus 77, which is the 20% return gross yield investment. But there may not be any available, and or they may not click together. And you might find that the other combinations, which is in front of us here, we have a 20% return, 17% return, 16% return, 13% return, and 11% return. There's 5 scenarios here, 5 combinations here of the ILs. So you could end up with whichever one of these 5 as per the recommendation from the provider and the care provider and the SDA provider to you as a property investor. So in summary, again, Jess, I hope we haven't technically bombarded our listeners about this topic called the lower of rule. So this is the Appendix G. No?
Yeah, so that's what we touched on briefly before. So to quickly capture what we just went through in terms of scenarios of all the percentages, what we've done is we've explained that, yes, that's great. You've got a property that's an SDA enrolled dwelling for 3-bed, say, IL, so it can have 2 IL participants. We're saying while the maximum you could charge in the scenario we just described would be $77K, if the tenants or the participants who are coming to you have different funding, you can't charge them that $77K. You have to charge the lower of.
Correct.
And then just briefly touching on, so Appendix G, potentially now Appendix H, that only factors in when you're dealing in a shared living arrangement. It's dealing primarily around the price point of one person, one participant living in a multiple bedroom home where there's multiple non-SDA people.
Yep.
So there is a little potential deviation from there, but in reality for what we deal with here and what we're focusing on in SDA houses for SDA living, we would just follow the lesser of rule.
Yes. So this is important, this discussion today, because 2 things. It removes any doubts. Sorry, it brings more confusion, I think, and
but less doubt. Yeah,
less doubt that there is it's not a certainty of just the maximum IL number. It's a bit of a combination. But Jess, if there's 5 combos here for the IL, there'll be 5 combos for the HPSs, and there'll be 5 combos for the FAs, right?
The probability is massive. So
if you're going those 5 and 5 and 5, mixing it all up together, left, right, and center, excluding apartments, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? Your feasibility spreadsheet, which normally has 8 to 10 in there, would become what now?
Significantly more.
Because David Whitelaw from Adapt Housing has said it's about 46 or 56 combinations.
That sounds about accurate, I think, from what we've gone through.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we mean by this is if you have a list of, I say alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, to 15 of them, right? And then you mix them all up together. A with B, A with C, B with D, G with F, F with M, L with, it all mixes together. You got 40 combinations. So if you get a HPS house, don't think you're getting 2 HPSs at the maximum HPS funding combination. There could be 5 different HPS combos. And there could be 5 FA combos or 5 IL combos, or I assume 5 HPS IL combos and vice versa. And then FA IL combos.
Yep.
That's a lot there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. So I think Jess, we won't be doing these 46 combos on your spreadsheet, obviously.
No.
Maybe just 10 of them, just showing them the average mix of what it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of ultimate return, I think everyone would go crazy if we tried to explain each single possible investment return. What we'll do is just look to get sort of the best coverage of potential returns, maximum through to minimum across 10 to 12 different scenarios.
Let's be honest. If I was showing some financial feasibility calculations, I would say, here are 2 HPS. Here are 2 ILs. Here are 2 FAs. Here is an IL and an FA. And here is a HPS IL. And that's it. There's the 5, 6 one right there. And that gives you a nice little indication of what the range could be.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to go into the whole 40 combination mix, no. But remember, the purpose of this podcast is to talk to you about the lower of rule, which is, again, Jess, the lower of rule is, word for word?
When claiming payment for SDA from an individual participant's plan, a provider is only able to claim the lesser of 1. The maximum per participant price for which the dwelling is enrolled, or 2. The amount of SDA funding for which a participant has been assessed.
Thank you. Jess, any final words from your end? I mean, you've worked a lot on the research and the due diligence of our feasibilities. I think now you're doing a new column which shows the net income, net of mortgage payments as well now.
Correct. Yeah.
So we used to have gross yield, net yield before mortgage payments, and now you're doing net yield, net of mortgage payments.
That's correct.
So that's what.
So getting a better idea of the actual bottom line.
And that shows a person, an investor, the cash flow positive outcome. Yeah. Is there any reason to do any more than those 3 columns, or that's pretty much it? That's
pretty much it. And when you consider that it's taking into account sort of the best range of all the 40-something odd scenarios, I think the summary that we'll be doing in light of this of the 10 to 12 possible mixes, that's going to give an investor sort of the best idea of the difference in range of what they can get returns for and the reasons why, which comes down to the mixes and which comes down to the costs. Sure.
I just want to put it out there. If any investor out there who has a property or has a property being built or owned right now, who wants a bit of a feasibility analysis on their current property somewhere, I guess we can always provide some support ourselves as an office. We'll charge a small fee, a nominal fee to do the report, $150 to $200, something like that, just to help investors out there to get a better understanding as to how that all works. Okay, Jess, thank you so much for your time. Good luck on your time with your kids at home with school kids, and I think this is just one of the many podcasts we're going to have coming out over the coming 2 to 3 months as we analyze all the changes with NDIS, with SDA. Thank you.
Thanks, Minh.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.